What's up, gang? It's Sabbath, and we are back with another Mythic Plus commentary video. This time, we're going to be taking a look at an 18 seat, which is, on this particular run, not an IO key, but still was just a good run to illustrate the concepts. The damage in this dungeon, especially after the first boss, can be pretty brutal, and I have heard I'm not the only one to express the opinion that it can be, yeah, just kind of nuts in the second area where you really do need to min-max your defensives to live. So we're going to jump right into it. We'll talk about the important abilities that you can either press defensives on or use your utility to remove. And the first one right off the bat here is whenever we're in any of these Merciless Subjugator pulls, the Chains cast can be removed by your barrier with the talent that you pretty much should be taking in every dungeon that removes effects caused by slows. So right there, here's the example. Because there's two in this pull, we do want to make sure that both casts finish and that we get 2 instances of this debuff before we press our barrier button and remove them. And now the damage that's occurring at this point is pretty non-existent. The other thing that we need to be on the lookout for, and whenever there's a Merciless Subjugator, is if we get this Leeching Void cast, is you need to wait for it to hit you and then invis, and it will remove the healing absorb. Alright, so let's go back a few frames. I did not do it instantly because there's no slow on us, right? So we're super safe. But if we go here, right, big healing absorb, and it's gone. Nice and easy. If you get these back to back, you will not have invis for every single one. So you will need to think about pressing something if you get more than one of these Leeching Void casts, but this allows you to reduce the effect of a lot of them, and it's probably the best use, pretty much the only good use of invis in this dungeon as far as I know. So yeah, just be looking for Leeching Voids. And once again, because we have a specific timer for barrier on these chains cast, we want to make sure that we aren't just absent-mindedly hitting barrier. We are waiting to see this, and then we are clearing it with our barrier. It is going to make these pulls feel infinitely more comfy. Now here we get Leeching Void. I press Ice Cold because I don't have invis. Probably didn't need to do that. Probably could have just alter timed or Warlock rocked or Hellstoned. I think Ice Cold is a bit of an overcommit there. And here's another thing I would like to point out. The Leeching Voids, or the chains, happen more frequently than your barriers up. Your barrier is a 21-second CD if it gets fully consumed. It's a 25-second CD if it does not get fully consumed. And so if you... I think these happen more... I think it's like 22 or 23 seconds. So if your barrier goes unused, then you might have a 2 or 3 second gap between when your first barrier gets pressed on the chains and when your barrier is available again for the second one of the pull. So just know that you might need to cover that with Alter Time, with some other defensive like Hellstone or something along those lines. You might have noticed I haven't potioned yet. That's because I pre-potted the first one, and because of our lust timings in this dungeon, I should, we'll see if that's actually the case, but I should get the potion back for when we lust again, because it's not right at the 10-minute mark. And we'll see if that's actually true. Remind me in 10 minutes when we're pulling the second boss if we have potion up by that point. We'll see. So we could be hitting the Subjugator, but the champions tend to live longer, and the Subjugator, you can see, is just getting absolutely crushed by Reldo and Manny. So I am just hitting one of the champions just to try to speed the pull up a little bit. My priority damage is not really that important, and it's a very minor thing. Just going to make one of the champions a bit lower, because you are still, like, scorching off of it. You are still IBing, so there is some damage that's going specifically into the mob that you are targeting that isn't hitting the whole pack, but the majority of your damage is just like Flame Strike and the Ignite value from it. Now, this first boss. This was very recently fixed, where prior to the fix, you could pull him around the entire outside of the arena and he wouldn't like reset or anything. You would just pull these packs and kill him and never actually touch the slimes because you'd be kiting him so much that they would just never make their way to the boss. Now he resets if he goes outside the arena, and that doesn't work anymore. So you can still get around this and just play with some CC. So that's what we're doing. Whenever he's doing the Crashing Void cast, we are using CC to prevent the slimes from getting into the boss. But other than that, we are just kiting him around. We are single targeting him. And in terms of how defensives work here, this boss is very simple. You are going to barrier the Crashing Void cast, which is when he sucks you in and then hits everybody with one big tick. And you are going to alter the Oozing Slams. That's all there is to it. These Oozing Slam casts do a larger initial hit and then ticking damage after. And so the ability to just sit on this altar and take it when you start to get into lower HP is going to keep you very comfy and going to help out the healer a lot. If you are doing the strategy where you're just kiting the voids around, make sure that you are taking these decimates away from the voids. You want to, these slimes, basically, the boss needs to be taken to where his jump will not take him over a slime. And if he were to run back to the tank, he also needs to not run through a slime. So that's where you want to take these puddles, and don't think about it too much. If you really want to make this easy, you can drop your Spell Steal. Since there's nothing to Spell Steal, you can drop your talent point in Spell Steal and instead take Ring of Frost, which makes the controlling the voids just even easier because you can just pre-place it between the voids and the boss for the Crashing Void cast. Once again, we're just altering this Oozing Slam. Because we've pulled the Broken in here, we need to be very, very cognizant of our health because they do tick damage. And so we're just watching and we take the altar and it's super fine. So same thing, right? Many is running away from the voids. We put the ring down just so that during the wind up for that jump, these little slimes don't walk into the boss. But we need to be very aware and like, nice kidney. I go in for the root, boss dies, very chill. So at this point, the fun starts where these next couple pulls can be pretty brutal. Any of the big rift guys can crank you regularly, and then there's these rift stalkers, right, that jump to you and put the bleed, and the combination of the two can be very brutal. So Dwarf here is going to be a very useful spell to have. If you're not a Dwarf, unlucky, you're gonna have to make do without the bleed removal. One of the nice things about Sun Fury here on these Rift Warden pulls is that the Rift Essence casts are almost exactly 40 seconds apart. So you can see that I dwarf this bleed immediately because we're just going for value, right? And we're going to alter this Rift Tear, and we're going to try to hold this altar until the void damage here starts to go off. So we take that just to top ourselves off. And we're still just cleaving off the warden, but doing our AoE rotation. We have, and we get kind of ticked low there. I think I so I'd lock rock just in case, but that wasn't necessary because we could have checked there that the bleed was on Manny and Reldo, which means they had both jumped to people recently. So I wasn't going to get targeted. So here I get the bleed. The altar is just in time, and it kind of helps me through the pulsing damage, and it means we don't have to press Ice Cold. I do health pot here. So I alter, and then I see that I have a couple more ticks of the bleed, and I health pot because I didn't know whether the Rift Warden was going to get that last kind of chunk of damage out. Probably worth using, you know, it's better a bad health pot use might be better than than not using one at all. But it's like, do I need health pot in the next 5 minutes? And the answer is maybe. There are some pretty brutal pulls. Anytime you are doing these Rift Stalkers into the Rift Wardens, you are in danger of dying. So we recently changed our route to where we're grabbing more with this Rift Warden, and I need to go get in range of the Conjurer, so that was kind of like me being a bit out of position for that. But we get the kick on the Conjurer, the Bound Void Caller is banished. And once again, we are altering the tears, and we are trying to hold that altar all the way through this first tick. I might change my strategy for this, honestly, looking back, and start altering after the Rift Tear, because that doesn't actually do most of the damage, and that might let me eat 2 of these big chunks that happen as instead of 1. Reldo goes down to the bleed combo there. Unlucky, but it's fine. The res is right in this area. I could have knocked that Rift Stalker as he was, so I might change where I alter here to be after this Rift Terror, because that does about, like, you can see we get topped anyway, or almost topped anyway, before the big chunks start. And altering after that might let us... We'll see. It's kind of, I've noticed, having played with a couple different healers here, that some healers are really well set up for the ticking damage after, and some healers are better set up to just like keep you topped during the initial Rift Tear. I think as long as you're just altering from 100 to something and then taking that back to get yourself, you know, topped, if you're not getting topped, that's going to be valuable here. So let's see how we approach this one. I am not full HP going into this, so I think I don't alter right away on this tear. Yeah, I don't. So I think the way we're doing this differently is we're just doing damage. I don't know why I didn't press Feather. And we go very low there with the barrier. Just didn't Feather. Okay. What are you doing, placement? Come on, man. And just getting stops here on the Conjurer. Tank goes down. I have threat. My mirrors are on CD because I used them at the start of the pull. So we're just running around here till we get the res. All is well. Sometimes your tank dies. Just be ready for it when those when those mobs start looking at you. Kind of surprised I had threat there, all things considered. And on this one, we're doing another Subjugator here into the Conjurer. So it's a Subjugator pull, right? Therefore, we need to make sure we save barrier for when the chains are happening. And we want to make sure we're also not stacked on people. So I move a little bit off Manny, or he moves off me. And we're going to barrier that off. And then we're going to go straight into our combustion. And I'm hitting the champion here because the Subjugator is going to die. It's really not that scary of a pull, and I just want to make sure that my tank lives. This might look weird, what I just did here with the scorching at almost full. If you've been playing Fire Mage at all in 0.5, you may have noticed that if you scorch with Hot Streak, so the scorch Pyro or scorch Flame Strike double spender, I swear like 1 out of 5 times it just doesn't go. The queuing is just messed up. And I have spoken to other Fire Mages about this, and it's not just me. They broke something in the 0.5 patch that is just messing up the Scorch, double Pyro, or double Flame Strike queuing. As such, I am playing around that and trying to make sure I never Scorch with Hot Streak into a double Hot Streak spender because of that. After, like, it just eats one charge of the Hot Streak, and you just end up with heating up despite throwing 2 Flame Strikes or 2 Pyros, or it doesn't let you basically do the double. It sucks. It's super annoying. I'm trying to overcome years of muscle memory with that. So you might see me do, instead of Scorch IB Flame Strike, you might see me do like Scorch Flame Strike IB Flame Strike. So we're getting cranked here. Should be talking about the defensives. My goal is to get through this pull with Dwarf, because I want to have it for the next boss. And so if I have to Healthstone and use everything else, but that still saves me the Ice Cold and the Dwarf for second boss, that is worth in my eyes, because there are some lineups on the second boss that can be very, very brutal if you don't have a way to remove the bleed or a way to significantly reduce the damage of the bleed. 22 seconds off the pot. Uh-oh. Okay, so we're not going to have it for this lust. GG. And there's currently 4 targets, and we do want this adept to die, so we are going to be flame striking here until it's dead. And technically it's neutral to flame strike, so you can see that if flame strike a little bit longer, just parsing that guy was dead. So we get the bleed here during the phase rush, which is, or phase dash. You just ice cold that, because basically the combos on this boss that you need to be aware of is the phase dash or the overload is occurring and you have a bleed. In either of those situations, you are in danger, right? You need to start thinking about pressing your bigger buttons like ice cold, being able to dwarf off the bleed, or potentially health potting if you're not 100%. All right, so we're really paying attention to this pounce timer, and because we're not pounced on there, we know that the dash is not going to one-hit us, so we don't have to. Now here, we're gonna just dwarf, right? And that's going to make this feel very comfy. And I did alter just in case, but Ming was on top of it, so I don't know if I can't. Did I take that alter time or did I cancel that alter time? We'll see. Doing fine. So we know we have barrier for this next one. But again, if we don't have the pounce, this isn't super scary. So we don't have to think about health potting. It's just if we get the pounce during this good cloak, like Reldo had the bleed there, so that was a good cloak, right? That's the same exact concept from him. And we're just spawning the void bombs, and then we're gonna get pounce into the phase dash. So if we get pounced on, and we do, here's where we need to be very concerned, right? So I alter immediately, even though I'm not at full HP. And that is so if we are not, we can at least get some HP back before this goes off. And I do think that's actually how this goes down, right? So I alter here at 72%. And I see myself go down to 20, 30, like 30%-ish. I'm at, that doesn't seem right, 256k. I guess so, okay. So we take the altar there, and even though it doesn't get us to 100, it still gets us back up to... Oh, I was going forward there, god damn it. We'll just go frame by frame here. I think we take the altar a little bit before this bleed goes off. Why am I doing this frame by frame? This was horrible. So we see ourselves go down to like 30%. Altar gets us back up to 70. The incoming heal takes us back up even further, and then the global after that is barrier, right? So now, even though we don't have dwarf and we don't have ice cold, and we're gonna take one more tick of this before it goes off, we should be very safe because we've managed to keep ourselves at 100% HP. The bleed expires, and then we're fine, right? And we had the GS as well during this. And then just continuing to hit, getting the kicks if Shadewing comes out to us, so that melee get their, get their uptime. We're looking for this pounce here because the dot is ticking, so we're ready to health pot if we need to, because that's pretty much all we've got, that plus barrier. And here's another bleed into dash, but it does expire before this actually goes off. Still altered at full HP just in case, lets us potentially mid pop take the altar back. and heal ourselves up. At this point, the boss is at 10 mil. My rogue said something about sending, so I don't want to send combustion because we're not going to get it back for the next pull. It's a little bit too late. I do just send the dry meteor because that being a 45-second cooldown, I might not have it up by the start of the next combustion, but I should have it up at some point in the next combustion. All right, now we're going into this next pull. Single destroyer with a couple void benders and the Riftstalker. We're gonna focus the Riftstalker so that if he jumps out, we're ready to kick. And he jumps way out to Mang. So technically we should be pyroing here on the destroyer because it is the prio mob and the Riftstalker was out, but when the Riftstalker comes back in, I do think it's worthwhile to once again start flame striking. You can see that since the destroyer and the Riftstalker have about the same health and they both need to die, it's worthwhile to flame strike. Now I take this altar right away, and I notice that more different than what I'm used to, the ticking damage seems to be more of a threat here than when I play with an Ardruid. So I make a modification to this instantly, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, on the next one I'm actually going to, instead of instantly topping myself and then relying on the hots to kind of carry me through the ticking damage from the eruption, I'm going to delay by a little bit more because I was still pretty healthy when I took the altar, kicking the Riftstalker. And so we're going to try to take a tick or two of the eruption dot before we altar and heal ourselves immediately because it seems like we're in less danger. Definitely worthwhile to alter this. So you can see we alter, we land, take 2 ticks, and then we alter back up to full. And we're just hitting the destroyer, and at this point the the classic Diabolus bug this season pulls the other 2 destroyers in, and this pull goes from, you know, finishing up a very chill pull to potentially very lethal because we managed to kill off that other destroyer, but these 2 destroyers are going to be just cycling eruptions on us. And you can see like Reldo gets back to back, he's got the dot, he gets another eruption, and that can crank. Now thankfully it's just these 2 and not the most efficient pull here, but the damage can be pretty bad. So we get the circle here and we're going to alter. And then we get another circle here, so we're gonna alter to full and ice cold, just to like kind of help catch up because it was the second set of 2, and we just want to help Mang out there. And we still have barrier for the next one that we get, which if we get this one, we can, and we do. So we're just barriering, just kind of after, just to help catch up, take a couple ticks while Mang tops us off. And so we get our, our bonus count here and go into the next pull. Now, if you have a habit of getting clipped by orbs on these pulls, you need to devote some cognitive load into tracking where the Shadow Weavers spawn the orb sets and thinking about pre-positioning where you're not going to get clipped. It will help you in the long run to not be reacting to them, but instead to be thinking about where the orbs are going to shoot. So you can see, like right now, I am looking, I'm seeing, okay, that orb's not going to hit me. And I'm looking at this close one. I'm saying, okay, we're good. We're going to just kind of like find the, you know, intercardinals of this, because then we know that we're never going to get hit. We're going to move here. We know we're never going to get hit there. If you get the targeted suck during this, I believe it's the, what is it called? Void Infusion. You can invis that, wait until the cast starts ticking on you, or else it will just recast on someone else. You need to wait for it to go off and then invis. Same thing on this pull, we are CCing the void colors so that we can just avoid killing them, and then because it's just 3 targets basically in this, it's just the Shadow Weaver and the 2 Conjurers, we are going to play this as if it is a 3 target pull, and therefore we're going to pyro the prio target, which is the Grand Shadow Weaver. And we're watching these lines, right? We are just pre-moving to where it's going to be safe. Just trying to crank the Grand Shadow Weaver. And the banish on the void color breaks here. So at this point, it's actually better to flame strike because there are now 5 mobs in this pull, of which 3 of them we care about doing damage to. A Fuel the Fire boosted flame strike is more damage to those 3 mobs than pyroing one of them is. So even though we don't care about actually doing damage to the void colors, it's worthwhile to flame strike there. Now, same exact concept with this boss. We are looking at these lines on the top of our screen, and we are invising the mass void infusion because just like the targeted ones, if you invis, it will just stop the damage on you. One of the better uses of, you can invis that, or you can invis the tentacles that are on the tentacle phase. Now, I should have delayed this combustion by maybe 2 or 3 more seconds. I think this is actually a mistake because the clump spawns far, and I don't get to spread ignite to them for the burnout hit here. If I would have delayed my combustion by a second or 2, then I would have been able to get the IB off here. Let's look ahead a little bit. Maybe it would have been worth it just to slam this IB to get the ignite spread, because this burnout pop here on Viceroy, we can't see how much damage it actually does. Should be a decent bit. We aren't able to do this burnout spread to the tentacles, and therefore we miss out probably on a decent chunk of damage. It looks like it pops for around 8. Maybe that's the 18 there on Viceroy. So we kind of miss out on free damage on these tentacles because we could have spread ignite to them and had the burnout pop. But we are swapping to the far ones because we are used to doing this with a Destro Lock, and the Destro Lock is very good at spread cleaving, but we do not have that option. And I should have shimmered earlier there just to stop the momentum. I also think I misplayed this because I'm getting tentacled. I should have just ice colded here. Going into this, there's 0 reason why I shouldn't have. It costs me my cauterize. Misplay on my part. Should have just committed the ice cold, seeing that there were still tentacles alive going into that phase. So it's all right. We that's what the cot's for. So we're looking at the orbs ahead of time here. And this one I think is going to be better timed. We'll see. We do the close meteor. So there we actually get the burnout hit on the close tentacles, so that'll help kill them faster. And then we're going to swap to the far ones here. I believe on this one I do the actual correct shimmer timing. Yeah, and then kind of go early, and that'll just take me into the boss. Now this collapsing void starts ticking as soon as it hits 0, so you do want to alter before the cast finishes, and then you're just watching your HP during this. Meng had no problem keeping up with us. I think I could have altered the tentacle phases instead, but just make sure you get good value out of that. And we're looking at the lines again, so we're gonna move right into where we're not gonna get clipped. If we get this mass void infusion, we're gonna G-invis. We don't get it there. And I think, if I remember correctly, the group was saying, should we lust this? Should we lust this? And the rogue said no, but I thought he said yes, do it. So get the good spawn. In this case, I delayed a little bit too much, and we don't actually get any of the burnout pop because the combustion was still going when everything there was dead, but this does let us kind of crank the tentacle there. There's the correct shimmer where we actually just immediately cancel the momentum and go back to the boss. And we don't alter off the rip, so we wait to see topped. We wait to get to 100%, and then we can alter there. And we're just watching our health. And at this point, it's kind of smooth sailing. If we get the void infusions, whenever this is happening, we're looking to invis, right? So we're just going to invis that right away. And the boss has 2 million health. I press combustion. You might be thinking, what the heck? The boss has no health. Why would you do that? Well, there's more than a minute of RP in this between the third boss and the fourth boss. So you can just combust and save yourself a couple seconds, maybe. I don't know how much faster it actually ends up killing the boss there, but it's just a free usage of combust. There's no reason to hold. And we're in. So the first burn happens about a minute and 20 seconds in on this boss, and then they are a minute and 38 seconds apart after that. So we are able to combust, to play a little bit of Firestarter, to then combust fairly early and still have it for the first burn. And then we're going to do a very long, cringe 40-second hold in between the burns. Because all of our damage is compacted into the combustion, it is not worthwhile to send on CD, in my opinion, to get extra uses because of how big the amp on the boss is. So what we're going to do is we're going to alter the first initial damage here, and that's going to let us get to full before this first disintegrate cast. And if you combust on this disintegrate cast, it will give you a very, very free usage of combust where you don't have to think too much about the movement and trying to get casts and stuff because you are just fully mobile in your cooldowns. This is going to be a 2-burner for sure because we don't have lust. So what technically I could have done better looking at this is I could have feathered my combustion at the start and then feathered on the second burn with pot instead of saving feather for the first burn with pot, because I know I'm only getting 1 potion. Here's another alter time usage here. So once the disintegrate cast starts, you can alter if you are healthy. Do not go any earlier than that, because if your alter expires, you might find yourself in a beam. Ask me how I know that. But that lets you kind of play the full disintegrate and then alter. So here we don't have barrier. I get ticked. I press lock rock there just to be safe. And then you're going to see me convert. I'm going to grab this. I'm going to convert this hot streak, and then I'm just going to hold it for 2 seconds until the backlash, debuff begins. And we are just doing our combustion. Again, avoiding that aforementioned scorch bug by not trying to scorch IB Pyro. We're going to scorch Pyro IB Pyro, which is so much worse in my opinion. It feels so bad, but it's the right thing. We're going to alter this initial damage as well, so we're just watching our health, and we go down half, so we're going to alter back up. And then here you can get more like fireball casts off if you shimmer these beams. I just think the risk reward is so minimal because you're out of your cooldowns. The boss doesn't have the amp. So if you don't feel confident shimmering the beams to like get an extra fireball cast off, I wouldn't worry about it. And now we're going to be watching again. Same concept as what I was just explaining. So I see the cast start, our HP's in a good spot, so we're going to alter time. And we have a nice little window here. Wait for a tick, take a jump back, right? I don't get the debuff, so I'm just chilling. And once again, we want to just set up a nice, comfortable combust entry here. So you're going to see me just like sit on this hot streak for a while because it just lets me have a nice combust entry going into the backlash. And I'm combust. This is I believe an 18 or 16 second debuff. I could probably combust a little later. I'd have to look on logs and compare exactly, but I want to make sure that my burnout pops during the amp, and I want to get like some. So by combusting a little early, we at least get the ignite ticks at the end and the hypothermia pyros inside of the amp. Whereas if we combust it a little later, then maybe the front-loaded damage, like at the start of combustion, you're missing. You're definitely still getting the burnout because you're very unlikely that your combustion lasts more than 18 seconds. But okay, and boss dies, easy peasy. So in summary, this dungeon is really about taking stock of the defensives that are available to you and using certain things on specific predictable damage and saving your big stuff for overlaps that will kill you. You have some really valuable invis tech with Leeching Void. You have some, and the I'm already blanking, Void Infusion on the Shadow Weavers. You have some ability to remove the chains with your barrier, and you should save your barrier for that. If you're a dwarf, be a dwarf. Do dwarf things. If you're not, you're gonna have to come up with something else for the bleed. And that's how it goes. So if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching the video. Your comments are always appreciated on how it is really encouraging to see the comments of people saying like how valuable they are finding these videos to be. It's very I'm glad you guys are enjoying it. I'm planning on making one for every dungeon. Just looking for examples for the rest of the 4. If you're interested in catching any of this stuff live, my Twitch is in the description, twitch.tv/GM_Sabbat. I also I'm gonna link a Twitch channel, or not Twitch, excuse me, a video YouTube for Magavek, who is the rank 1 EU Fire Mage, who recently started uploading his runs to YouTube. So if you're looking for more Fire Mage run content, not from me, Magavek is the GOAT, can confirm. Dude is certified G, and us Fire Mages got to stick together. So gonna link his YouTube in the description as well. Go check him out. Thank you so much, you guys. Your support has been awesome. We'll have more of these coming out soon. And someone was asking about a similar commentary video for raid fights. If that's something you would like to see, let me know in the comments as well. I don't know how many of you are here for specifically Mythic Plus, or if it's general just Fire Mage stuff and you're looking for some raid advice, I'd be happy to provide that as well. Just want to give you guys what you want. So thank you so much for watching the video, and have a great rest of your day.